home and destroyed his mother-in-law's. Former President Barack Obama condemned President Trump's call to jail Chicago's black mayor and Illinois' governor for rejecting National Guard deployment. In a recent podcast, Obama accused Trump of politicizing the military and warned that using troops against civilians threatens democracy. And rapper Future is being sued for allegedly using a photo of Atlanta's Dungeon family house as the cover art for mixtape Pluto. Photographer Gary Gomez says the image was used without permission on the cover and merchandise, and he's seeking damages in a court order to stop its use. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
New Schools for New Orleans is excited to announce that our Katrina 20 exhibit, After the Storm, 20 Years of Change and Progress in New Orleans Public Education, is now open to the public. You can experience this powerful look at how our schools have transformed since Katrina at the New Orleans Public School Library's main branch, 219 Loyola Avenue, during regular business hours, now through December. Bring your friends, family members, students, and colleagues. Looking for a group visit for your school or organization? Email us at info@nsno.org.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, New Orleans, and welcome to the Good Morning Show right here on WBOK, 1230 a.m. I am Will Sutton, and sitting right next to me is my good brother, Chief Eddie Compass. Why are we here?
We're here to hear you.
We are here to hear you. This is Yo Black Talk radio station, and we've got quite a show lined up, but the talk line for you to have your voice heard is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. So if you've got something on your chest, something on your mind, if you've got a question for either of us or both of us, we can't promise you an answer, but we'll certainly give you a response. So we got a lot going on as always, and I'm just going to hit on some of the key things that you might want to know, need to know as this day goes on, and then we'll be telling you about the exciting show that we have coming up. So in and around the French Quarter, among a couple of titans of trash, Troy Henry from Henry Consulting, and Sidney Torres from Ivy Waste. And there were other folks interested in it as well, Richard's Disposal and others. But Mayor LaToya Cantrell has stepped out and said, I'm still the mayor. And I am issuing a call for a sanitation provider in the French Quarter and the Downtown Development District. And that would be a request for proposals released on October 10th, the day before the election. And it calls for a 6-month service term. And the reason for that is the contract that Ivy Waste has to continue to clean the French Quarter, which a lot of businesses and residents in the French Quarter said they wanted. That contract expires December 23rd. That's when the 1-year contract expires. So going right up against Christmas, 2 days before Christmas, that contract expires, but somebody has to have a contract to do the trash. And normally this would be in a 1-year stretch, or it would be in a multiple year stretch. But this one calls for 6 months. 6 months. So 6 months And this date is 3 weeks before the inauguration of Mayor-elect Helena Moreno, who will weigh in heavily on trash contracts, this one and others, but it wouldn't be effective for nearly 6 months after she's mayor, as opposed to immediately after. It's possible that you can do I think it would be a month to month, but the mayor is saying she wants a 6 month new contract.
Yeah, well, I look at it from the perspective that, Mayor Cantrell said, I'm going to be the mayor until my term is up. And when you look at it from that perspective, I think she has the right to do that. And when you look at it from the perspective that, the new administration is going to take over and they're going to look at all the contracts, they're going to do their due diligence and, hopefully they pick the best individual for the city, so we're going to have to look, ahead and just see how that process works because there are many people that's qualified and many people that's applying for it. So, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, TimesPicayune-NOLA.com reporter Ben Myers talked with City Council President J.P. Morrell, who called it absolutely bizarre. His words, quote unquote, absolutely bizarre. And he went on to say, it appears because there's no logical reason to do a 6-month RFP that this is being done out of spite, close quote. So he thinks this is a get back at City Council, he seems to be saying. And whether the Ivy Waste contract can be extended is unclear. But it was that contract, the contract that Ivy Waste has, says shall end no later than 12 months. So not sure about how that will work, but it looks like we might have some more trash contract controversy in the works.
That's going to be adjudicated through the courts probably, most definitely, not probably, most definitely, because everybody have a different perspective on it, and that's why they have courts.
Yep. So Troy Henry did weigh in to Ben Myers, and his comment was, quote, I believe that they're doing the RFP simply because they are aware that we have a valid contract. The current emergency contract expires in December, and it is not extendable. So they've got to have a contract in place. I think they're doing this as a stopgap. So who knows where this is going to be. Ben Myers also talked to Sidney Torres, and he said, quote, he told me that the legal department has approved a 6-month extension, that he thinks it's the right thing to do. And he's referencing Sanitation Director Matt Torrey, who works for Cantrell. He went on to say, and then I went to City Hall for a recycling thing that we were dealing with. He walked outside with me and he told me the mayor doesn't want to do that. So the drama continues.
Stay tuned.
We had a political season after the trash season. We may now have another trash season with us. Meanwhile, Mayor-elect Helena Moreno is moving quickly. And yesterday she announced the beginnings of her transition team and her transition efforts. So she is calling on New Orleanians to be a part of putting the new administration together. And she's launched a website. You can go and look at it now. It's newdirectionnola.com. 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 So that's a single website where you can go if you're interested in working with the new administration. Maybe you don't want to work in a paid capacity. You want to volunteer, or you want to find other ways you or your community can help. That's the website to go to. And it's for going on to provide input. There was a lot of input to all the mayoral candidates during the campaign, And this is an opportunity to say, okay, I didn't support you, but here's what I think. I did support you. I did a lot to support you. I want to see you be successful, but pay attention to this, 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 and this. And of course, the mayor-elect will probably come up with a 30, 60, 90, 100-day plan or something like that. And since she and her team won so convincingly, I'm sure they have a number of things like that mapped out already.
You know, being part of the Bartholomew administration, I remember in the second term when he won convincingly and overwhelmingly, such as Mayor-elect Marino. You know, he brought a lot of people to the table. He brought a lot of people to the table that didn't actually support him, which, you know, because he said that to heal the wounds we have to of an election, because some things will say that you can't take back, but you know you have to go forward because whoever wins, they're the mayor for the entire city, and he brought a lot of people to the table that actually didn't support him, and I think he was really successful in that because it showed that, you know, the election is one thing, but governance is another thing, and you're gonna need everybody on the same page. You know, when we talk about bringing people together, it takes people from all ends and all directions. So, you know, I'm encouraged that she's opening up to the entire city, and you know, she's starting early, so she'll be able to do her due diligence when she's looking at these individuals. You know, and they're going to be many qualified people who didn't support her that she's probably going to put in positions to help get the city in the direction that, you know, we want to be successful.
Well, the website was launched officially yesterday. It clearly is something that they had in the works, ready, anticipating the possibility of winning in Saturday's election rather than dealing with a runoff. So there is a section, very clean, colorful homepage. There's a section where you can sign up to just get updates generally, and there's a separate section when you can sign up for job updates. So the mayor's looking at the mayor-elect is looking at where she wants to head with the new administration during the weekend. Saturday night, I believe it was, when she said she's been overwhelmed by the number of people who have expressed interest in signing on with her administration to come in and help. And they meant jobs. They meant jobs. So we know that there will be some changes in the cabinet. We'll expect to see some department head changes. I'm guessing that there are some people working in the current administration that Helena Moreno works very well with and respects, and they might need to find another role, but she might want them in the administration. But then there are others that she might want to keep actually in their current role. I don't think this might be a wholesale. Anyone who worked for Cantrell is not going to work for Moreno because she's been a part of city government for the last 8 years. And I think that's going to result in her energy and her knowing about city government and how it operates. And each of the city council members regularly meet with city officials to check in on problems, to check in on developments, to check in on, you know, where are things going? How do we make something happen? And I suspect that that's something that she'll be looking at as she considers that. So once again, if you're interested in keeping up with the new mayor, and if you're interested in working with the new mayor, that website is newdirectionnola.com. We've got a caller. Good morning, Reverend Wallace.
Good morning to the listening audience. First of all, I want to commend you and Brother Compass for being precise, informative about with the electoral, about this election. You did your best. You put the information out there for people to get an understanding of what we were embarking upon and what we're going to have to swim through for the next 4 years. Our prayer is that certainly she go in and do what she says she's going to do. I see she made a statement in reference to the consent decree, Mr. Compass. I want to give an understanding of the consent decree. It's not that it was enormous price, but the but the impact that it had, you had Dan Zigger, you had other stuff that happened, you had officers was doing things out there in the community that was certainly not professional. I'm a former 26, so I understood that the federal government stepped in and said, look, we're going to take oversight, get this thing aligned.
Reverend Wallace, let me just step in for a moment. You're coming in a little
Distorted.
not quite.
It's distorted.
Not quite clearly. It's distorted. So it seems like your radio or your other source of audio is too close to you. So maybe turn that down so we can hear you.
Do I have it? Do I have it right now?
That's much better. Go ahead.
Much better.
Now
we
want to
can
hear you.
Because you're making some very sagacious points. So go ahead.
Right, go ahead.
And I want to say that the first thing she said she was going to do was look at this $3.7 million that they're paying. But you got to understand the reason that money was paid because of the life. One life was worth a lot of money. I mean, you want to have your citizens, the residents of New Orleans, the constituents of New Orleans, you want them to know that the police is there for them. Not all the officers are. There's some great police officers. I think New Orleans was one of the greatest police forces in the world. They have great leadership. It's accomplished. You certainly instilled the values in a lot of people when you were there.
Thank you, sir.
But we're looking at this from a perspective of what's going to happen with the charter. What's going to happen with the airport? How are they going to do that? They're going to build a regional board. Is going to take it from under the city of New Orleans. Is Emir going to lose some power and give out some powers to some other people? I mean, there's so much that's going to happen in this administration that we're going to have to shake our head. What's going to happen to minority contracts? I mean, what's going to be the complication with that? Now, you see Troy Henry went through this, but what else requirements going to be needed to have a contract with the city? Are you going to have certain amount of insurance? You're going to have so many years of proving that you did the work. I mean, we don't know what's ahead of us, but we're going to find out. And, like I say, Mr. Compass, ice cream milk.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
That's
you can't
true.
pick up spilled milk.
All right.
So God bless y'all. Thank y'all. I love talking to you, brothers. God bless you. And we're going to have a good time. We're going to walk through this. We've been there before.
Yeah.
We're going to make it.
Yes,
Absolutely, absolutely. Good to hear from you, Reverend Wallace. Have a blessed
Thank you.
day.
Thank you for the time you give me. God
All right,
bless you.
Lord's
Have a blessed
blessings. Well, he made some good points. And, of course, whether you supported Helena Moreno or not, she is the mayor-elect, and she will be the mayor on January 12th. And because people supported her and those who encouraged her and supported her and voted for her are quite excited, doesn't mean they don't have concerns. That doesn't mean they don't have concerns. They decided that she's the one that they want her to lead this city. And the vote was very clear. So she won on Saturday and avoided a runoff. But those people are full of energy, but I'm sure they're full of ideas and concerns as well.
When you look at it, like I said, our democracy is the greatest in the world. And when you make a decision to vote and you put the person in place that has the same ideologies you have, the same, values that you have, you look for them to be consistent. And I think the people that put Councilman, now Mayor-elect Helena Moreno in there, have a vision for the city that coincides with her vision. I think it's one of inclusion. I think it's one of, building up the economic base of the city, bring everybody to the table, and this was talked about during the campaign, and it's a cross section of individuals who supported her. And now it's going to be up to them to, put the things in place that they talked about, during the campaign. And if that works, everything is going to go in the right direction, and hopefully she's successful, because if she's successful, the city will be successful and everything will fall in place. And that's what we look for. But when you look at it from the perspective that 55% of people supported her, that's significant. So all these people basically is going to have to work hard to make that vision come true. And the people that did not support her, they're going to have to win them over, because you can't do it with just half the population. Even though 55% is significant, there's still 45% of people that did not vote for her. So you have to convince those people that they have skin in the game, that they have an opportunity, that it's going to be a situation where it's going to be all inclusive, that even though you did not support her, you're not going to be left out. And I don't think she's going to do that, because she said, during her whole campaign, that she wants to bring the entire city to a certain place. And one of the things that was brought out, that 70% of African Americans did not vote for her.
That was Gary Chambers.
That was Gary Chambers that said that. And I think those 70% are concerned that they may be left out. So they're going to have to get some type of reassurances that everybody will be brought to the table and everybody will have an opportunity to benefit in the progresses that's going to be made, hopefully, and the economic development and the actual uplifting of this city. So we'll wait and see. But I'm looking forward to it because, like I said, I live here. I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
So if the mayor's successful, our quality of life goes up. We're all successful.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, the mayor elect said she's going to be working on city basics, but she has some other visions for how the city needs to work and must work. I think that's part of what excited people was that city government is broken in a number of areas. And, of course, we tend to focus on the things that aren't working or aren't working as well. So people point to the Sewage and Water Board. They point to safety and permits. They point to the potholes in the streets and the street lights that are out and been out, and how long it takes to get them repaired and working order again. And those are things that frustrate people.
Right.
And that's not a matter of any one person in the office of mayor, but it is a matter of how people see it when they're dealing with these issues, and they want to look at somebody, and the most obvious person is the elected mayor of the city and his or her team.
Yeah. I look at it from perspective. I have to be analogous to what I did as chief of police. Everybody did not want me to be chief, but the people that did not want me to be chief, I did not have an adversarial relationship with them. I had to win them over. So what I did when I became superintendent of police, I brought all the commanders together. I said, some of you guys supported me, some of you didn't, but we're all on the same team now. And I basically met with them individually and found out what was important to them. I came to a consensus that I can't do everything that everybody wants me to do, but what I can do, I can look at everybody's vision and incorporate it in my vision to make a functional police department and a functional city. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think she's going to have to do, just bring everybody to the table. And a lot of political officials supported her, and a lot didn't. But they all represent this city, So we're gonna have to. I'm pretty sure she's gonna put like a summit together or something, or meet with them individually, meet with her supporters, meet with people that didn't support her, and come to some type of conclusion. What's the direction for the city, and get everybody pushing in the right direction. And when you do that, you're gonna be successful. Because at the end of the day, we're one city, we're one New Orleans, and that's it.
Yep. Well, another piece of news that you want to know, former Governor John Bel Edwards, Democrats, national Democrats like Chuck Schumer, Democrats across the state of Louisiana, the Democratic Party of Louisiana, been hoping and praying that former Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards would say that he will seek the U.S. Senate seat currently held by Bill Cassidy. Well, he made it clear yesterday he will not run.
Wow.
He will not run. Democrats saw him as the best option to take on Cassidy, especially as Cassidy is facing challenges from at least 4 other Republicans. And the disappointment has been quite a thing. So we're going to go to break. And when we come back, we're going to hear from Mr. 411, Doc Morial, and political analyst and expert city of New Orleans view from the top, Clancy DuBose. They're going to be right here in studio with you and with us, talking about the post-election insights, what they saw, what they see, and how we might look at this and frame it maybe a little different way. I'm sure individually they have experts' thoughts and ideas, and to together. This conversation is going to be a good one. So make sure you call some people, share the link, and get ready for the Memorial in DuBois conversation. You're listening to WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Good Tuesday morning. I'm Daryl Forges with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. Happening today, the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office will go before a judge to address a recent data breach and how that breach is preventing the agency from complying with its consent decree. The summons directs OPSO to bring someone familiar with the efforts to address last month's cyber attack. Court records show OPSO is claiming the breach was prevented them from, quote, providing plaintiffs and monitors with timely information required under the consent judgment. Family, friends, and other members of the community came together in prayer for a teen gunned down in Algiers. 17-year-old Jyron Johnson was shot last Monday on Texas Drive. A vigil was held for Johnson at the Forest Park Apartments. He was a junior at L.B. Landry High School. If you have any information about the shooting, call Crime Stoppers. And just days after her mandate victory, Mayor-elect Helena Moreno is already setting the tone for her administration, officially launching her transition team. Her effort is called New Direction New Orleans, and she also launched a website asking residents to get involved. Her team will announce transition chairs this week. Moreno says her first 100 days will focus on fixing city services, cutting delays, and improving response time. We're expecting more announcements later this week, including who will lead key committees. I'm Daryl Forges, and that's your headlines for WBOK, and have a great day.
This is the Bloomberg Black Business Beat. Anyone who started a business can tell you how difficult it can be to get the capital they need. But for black entrepreneurs, it's proven to be far more challenging. Based on research from Accenture, black founders receive only about 1% of funding from venture capital investors. That means there are very few venture capital-based startups with black leaders that end up successful. One exception is World Remit, founded by Ismail Ahmed. He's chairman of Britain's very first black-owned startup with a value of more than £1 billion. His advice to black entrepreneurs looking to gain capital? Stay positive.
Stay positive in the face of adversity. It's going to be a lot tougher to raise money, but I think you want to be persistent and recognize that we don't hear a lot of those stories, but a lot of successful stories.
A positive mental outlook might not solve everything, but it can help a black entrepreneur weather the storms that'll come when trying to get their business off the ground. I'm Bloomberg's Justin Milliner on the Black Business Beat.
Lowe's knows you've got a job to do, and we help get it done. With the MyLowe's Pro Rewards program, eligible members save more with volume discounts on qualifying orders through a quote of $2,000 or more. Join for free today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Offer can't be combined with any other discount, contract, and/or special pricing. Exclusions, more terms, and restrictions apply. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Working as a dedicated Fidelity advisor, I always ask, what's important to you? I'll look at those priorities and goals alongside your full financial picture to build a comprehensive plan designed to help grow and protect your wealth. With proactive portfolio insights and an eye on taxes, I'm here to help you make the most of your money. I'm Laura Maxwell, and I'm a dedicated Fidelity advisor. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
A message from the community scientist. Do you live or work in St. James, St. John, St. Charles, Ascension, Calcasieu, Baton Rouge, or St. Bernard Parish? You may be exposed to harmful chemicals like phthalates, BPA, and flame retardants found in everyday products but linked to serious health risks. That's why the Community Scientist, a program of Rise St. James, brings you clear, science-based facts that protect your health and our environment. Stay informed, stay empowered. Visit risestjames.org today.
You're invited to step back into New Orleans history for Community Day at the Dewdrop Inn with Tulane University's Special Collections, presented by the Primo Memorial Series. Saturday, October 18th from 12 to 2 p.m. Celebrate the Dewdrop Inn legacy with a live musical show. Enjoy a brunch buffet and explore archival materials. Free admission, but space is limited. For more information, visit library.tulane.edu/Dewdrop Community Day.
making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, New Orleans, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show right here on WBOK 1230 AM. I am Will Sutton, and with me, my partner in justice is Chief Eddie Compass. Why are we here?
We're here to hear you.
You know that you're hearing our voices all the time, but we hope that we'll hear yours at some point during the show today and this week. So the WBOK talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. And I know some of you all will want to jump into this conversation because we've got Clancy DeVos and we've got Jacques Morial, and they've been around for a minute. They've been watching politics and campaigns and government services and the state legislature and all kinds of things for decades. So we're excited to have this conversation, gentlemen, about what the heck did we see happen on Saturday night. 55% win by Moreno. It appears to me that this was across the city and across demographic and geography groups. But what did you all see, Clancy?
Well, I saw the same thing. You know, this is a candidate who, in some ways, was running for mayor for the last 7 years, but not just campaigning, but the reason her vote was so strong and was so strong from day one. She was the first one to announce, and I remember seeing Ron Fauche's 3 polls that he did for WWL-TV, 3 months apart each. And in each one, she had 47% over the course of 6 months. Mm-hmm. And that tells me, and the word I used to describe her vote was unshakable. Mm. No matter what anybody else said or did, her voters were committed to her. And I think the reason was, and it wasn't because they didn't like the alternatives, it's because they knew her. She had been in their churches, at their fairs, at their funerals, at their neighborhood association meetings for 8 years as a council member at large, and in her House district for 6 or 7 years before that. So people knew her. It's not like they saw her on TV and felt like they knew her, and they saw her on TV for 8 years before that.
Right.
And when you're on TV, like I've been, people walk up to me all the time and feel like they know me because I've been on TV since 1981. Mm-hmm. You know, TV has a certain intimacy. You're in their home,
right?
You know, and it's an honor, and I tell them that. But I've never run for anything. I'm not going to.
Right.
But you know, I understand that, and I think the same is true of Oliver. They knew Oliver. They loved Oliver, and she and Oliver got, at the end of the day, close to the same vote in the African-American community, which is significant for a non-black candidate.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, but for the federal problem, the federal bribery conviction, Oliver would have been mayor in 2010. I don't think Mitch Landrieu might have never been mayor.
I agree with you on that.
But things happen and people remember. And I think that was a sticking point for Oliver. You know, I didn't bring it up during the campaign, but the polls showed it because the questions were asked.
Right.
And Royce was not quite in, but was expected to be in, then said he's not in, then waited 6 months of very valuable time. And he did a remarkable job after he got in of raising a lot of money real quick. I thought his Royce is the choice slogan was a very good slogan, but it didn't really get out there early enough. And the other mistake I think he made, because getting out and then getting back in was a mistake. You know, people are like, okay, now he's in, now he was out, now he's in.
Right.
What up? And
I think
But,
there were a lot
well, let
of
me finish
people-
with one thing.
Yeah.
The other mistake he made was he completely wrote off white voters. He ran as the black candidate, whereas Oliver was already the black candidate and he had white support. And, Royce comes from almost a 50-50. The first time he won his Senate district, it was about 50-50.
Yep.
And so he had and he ran against a white liberal candidate in a white liberal district.
Right.
And he got elected with considerable white support.
Absolutely.
Including media support. He had Gambit's support. And he just sort of wrote that off as a candidate. And I say he is, whoever his campaign advisor was, I think it was Tyrone Walker. And, that was a serious strategic mistake. And because although Helena had 70% of the white vote in the polls, that's 30% that she didn't have. Yeah. And they knew her, and they were not for her. They wanted somebody else. Right. He should have gone after that 30% and the black vote that he went after.
Right, because
Jacques, do you agree with that assessment, or do you see anything different?
No, I agree generally, but I think we also have to consider when we look at the coalition that the foundation of it was white vote. White voters basically voted in a block for Moreno.
Right.
Like 75 or 80%.
Almost 80%.
Yeah. Almost 80%.
Yeah, on election day.
But Clancy's right. Voters felt familiar with her. Her favorables were really durable. I mean, and like Clancy says, unshakable. And I think people wanted to turn the page. And the Cantrell indictment was a milestone in all of this. And I think it solidified some support for Moreno because of the role she had played over the last 2 years. But one thing that I noticed is that most of the public polls in the closing days were close to accurate in predicting the outcome. And I think, we always, have different views about public opinion polls, especially those that come right before the election. But these, turned out to be fairly accurate.
And they were independent, too.
Yes.
They weren't, push polls or whatever.
They were third-party independent polls.
Right.
And they tended to be fairly accurate in sheriff's race as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that Royce Duplessis could have run a better campaign if he had gotten in earlier in the year rather than saying he's out and then jumping in?
Most certainly. And, the fact that he did not re-enter the race until a week before qualifying, when the race was well along, Oliver and Helena had announced long before that. And they both had, good campaigns. They had active campaigns that were engaged in direct voter contact. And both of those campaigns identified their voters and tried to turn them out early on. And I think the Duplessis campaign was at a disadvantage that they failed to address at any point.
Do you think when Judge Hunter supported Royce and he dropped out to support Royce, did you think that impacted significantly or not at all?
Oh, it did impact significantly. But I don't think the Duplessis campaign utilized or took advantage of Arthur Hunter's goodwill in the community. He was with them a little bit at first, and then I didn't see him around much. Didn't hear about him being around much. And that was things I was hearing, and I'm sure Jacques heard the same things from the Duplessis campaign, that why isn't, not that Arthur didn't want to be there, he wanted to be there.
Right.
But I think the Duplessis campaign took a very strident, very negative attack, and that's not Arthur. Arthur wasn't, and look, campaigning it's a contact sport.
Right.
But Arthur is a very statesman-like person. He's a judge.
Right.
He'll always be a judge. Maybe not in terms of his job, but once a judge, always a judge.
Once a chief, always a chief.
Exactly.
People still call me chief.
And I think they could have done better in the black community and the white community by using Arthur Hunter more.
Yeah, because I didn't see him a lot with Royce. That's why I was asking.
And it's not because he didn't want to be there.
Okay.
Yeah, I did see him at a number. I went to a number of debates and forums and campaign events, and Arthur Hunter was out and about quite a bit.
Early on, yes.
But no.
Really?
No, I mean, he was out and about, but he wasn't like a part of a team.
Right.
So he was there as a citizen. because he was engaged and interested in hearing what the questions are and hearing the answers.
Right.
I think you're right.
As a
I think it was
citizen.
about the first week to 10 days, maybe.
Yep.
I don't think it was even a month.
No, I don't think so either.
Of a night at the hip.
Yeah, well, the
And I'm not
duplicit-
trying to pick on Royce. You know, I can't. But you got to make, as a candidate, you got to make decisions, just like you got to
Absolutely,
make
yeah.
decisions when you're mayor. And I've always said that Jacques has heard me say this a lot. The most important words in a word in a mayor's vocabulary is no.
Right.
Because everybody wants you to say yes, but you got limited resources and unlimited challenges.
Absolutely.
And, you know, people look at a campaign for an office like mayor or governor, but especially mayor, and they look at your campaign and they figure that's the way you're going to run the city.
Yep.
In terms of organization, outreach, engagement, substantive policy. And that's what a lot of people are looking for, though they don't articulate that in their heads. And I think a lot of voters, black and white, were looking for more specifics from all of the candidates. Moreno was able to message some specifics because she had a big television budget early on, and she had basically been discussing this for the last 8 years, but specifically for the last year and a half.
And the voters are right when they say something. The way I articulate it is this way: people campaign the way they're going to govern, and voters know that. They expect. That's exactly what Jacques is saying. You know, they see a campaign and say, "Well, if that's what they're going to be like, maybe not."
One unique thing about this campaign, crime wasn't a major issue. So they were looking at quality of life issues. And I think Helena Moreno articulated a lot of quality of life issues as it relates to revitalization of streets and different type of things that would, help with economic development. I think she articulated that because when you look at crime was always the number one problem for a long period of time. And I think Chief Kirkpatrick and even Chief Woodfolk and and Chief Ferguson
and give the mayor credit too. She hired them.
Yeah, they did a great job. I mean, Sean Ferguson set down some foundations that people never really gave him credit. He's a quiet type of guy, and Chief Woodfolk followed those things. And then when Chief Kirkpatrick got there, she put a little spin on it, and she helped with the federal consent decree because of her experiences that we're now getting off. It's going to free up millions of dollars. So I think that was something that was very different than this election and most elections because crime was always a big deal. Now you had to deal with turning and pivoting to quality of life issues, and I think she did a really good job.
You're exactly right, Eddie, and it's unusual to put it. It's rare, in fact, for crime not to be on people's mind. Look back just 2 years ago, Jeff Landry got elected governor on crime.
Right.
And crime in New Orleans, in Baton Rouge and Shreveport, It's almost like he ran against New Orleans.
Yeah.
Now, people in New Orleans didn't give him much vote.
Right.
Rightly so, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But and the quality of life issues was so overriding. And I pointed this out Saturday night on Channel 4. Mayor Cantrell really deserves credit for getting crime down. When a mayor can reduce crime, that's a real accomplishment.
Big.
But the quality of life issues was so severe. The dysfunction at City Hall was so severe that it overshadowed the amazing things she did in getting crime down.
Right.
And if you look back over the last 45 years, crime was the biggest issue, the biggest concern of voters in all of the public opinion polls. But we saw, a market turn within the last 2 years, where infrastructure is the greatest concern. Infrastructure, drainage, and affordability, much more so than crime or education, which were the two leading, major concerns, major issues that people had over 30, 35 years.
Right.
Well, we're going to have to go to break, and I'm glad you guys will be with us for a little bit longer. And we're going to go to break, and when we come back, let's talk more about the impact of the election on City Council. Still has to do work between now and January 12th.
Oh, yeah.
The big part is going to be that budget.
Yep.
And we've got some other elections that we should take a look at as well. This is WBOK 1230 AM. The talk line is 504-582-9422. If you've got a call or a question, comment for Clancy or Jacques, we'd love to hear from you, 504-582-9422. You're listening to WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about. all day long.
Tired of the impersonal, one-size-fit-all style of banking? You deserve a bank that delivers exceptional service and personalized attention to your needs. That's the Home Bank Standard. Since 1908, Home Bank has been a trusted financial partner for businesses and families because we go the extra mile to help you reach your goals. See for yourself why Home Bank is good for business, good for life. Stop by any New Orleans area location or find out more at home24bank.com. Home Bank, member FDIC.
Love black culture and black business? Come home to Bayou Road for HomeFest 2025. October 17th and 18th on the 2400 and 2500 blocks of Bayou Road. Celebrate the history and legacy of Bayou Road and the soul of New Orleans. HomeFest is a free, family-friendly reunion. Get your body and life together. Get Up and Ride takes you on a spin with free massages and acupuncture, yoga, dance, and cancer screenings. Make art, not war, with action from Eternal Seeds, Xavier Art, KidSmart, and McKenna Museums. Captain Charles sails you into Friday night. Rock your Saturday with Tanya Boyd Cannon, DJ Battles and DJ Rockaway, Raj Smooth, DJ Legatron Prime, and DJ Jess. It's all happening Friday, October 17th from 5 to 9 p.m. Saturday, October 18th from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. Check out the schedule at homefestnola.com or follow us at homefestnola.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. You're listening to WBOK 1230 AM. Again, the talk line is 504-582-9422. I'm Will Sutton. With me is Eddie Compass. And with us, we have Clancy DuBose and Jacques Morial. Let's hop right back into it, gentlemen. We've got other elections that took place. Some of them were, I think, a couple of surprises. Others were as to be expected. When you look at city council at large and you look at the city council district races, what do you see? And then let's jump to some of the other races as well.
No surprise in the at-large races. J.P. Morrell got more votes than anybody else on the ballot. But he had 65,000 plus, but he didn't have, a high-profile, well-organized, well-funded opponent. Second was the assessor, who at like 61,000 something.
Right.
And again, he didn't have a well-organized high. He had one opponent who finished second and ran a good campaign with a shoestring budget and a lot of really good ideas. But the assessor got 40 years as an assessor.
Right.
So, I think Matt Willard is a young man to watch.
Oh yeah.
He got more votes than Helena Moreno. And he had a congressman who endorsed Moreno against him, not running, but endorsing his main opponent.
Right.
But for her campaign imploding over some financial issues on the personal side, that would have been more of a race. But give him credit. This is one of the few at-large candidates who people said that he knocked on my door.
Yeah, he did.
That says a lot.
And he had his whole family with him, too.
That's a hard-working, very focused young man. He was a very effective legislator, and now he goes to the council. But he's a young person to watch in the future. Now, in the council races, no surprise in A. The two leading candidates, Holly Friedman and Amy McCarron, are in the runoff. Friedman ran a few points ahead, but it's they're both in the 30s in terms of the vote they got. So that's going to be a hotly contested runoff. The big winner there, I think, is the voters of District A. They're both really good candidates.
Right.
Both have experience. They both worked in Joe Gerusso's
That's what I was going
office.
to say. They both worked for Joe. So
So they both, whoever wins the district, I think, will be well served. District B, there was no opposition to Leslie Harris. She came back in at the close of qualifying.
Yeah.
And District C, no surprise to me that Freddie King won, but it's a credit to him because District C is a very restless electorate. You got 4 major constituencies. Each one is very vocal and usually in a bad mood because they all feel underserved.
That's what I told him. He's very challenged.
So Freddie did a really good job getting reelected. Eugene had a very easy time in Eugene Green in District D. I happen to live in that district out by the lakefront. But he's got a very diverse district. All the lakefront neighborhoods where Will and I live, and then, through Gentilly and into parts of the Upper 9 and 7th and 8th wards as well. Very diverse district. You got some real conservative people out by the lake. You got some very progressive people down in New Marini and all that. So he did a good job there. And then in E, I think that was a little bit emphasized by how strong Cindy Wen ran. Yeah. It showed that when she lost to Oliver 4 years ago, this is a lady who got elected against an incumbent who was not popular at the time, James Gray, but in a district that's 86% African American.
Yep.
This is a Vietnamese American lady who unseated a black candidate whose wife was a judge.
Right.
So a well-known name, and whose former law partner was Bill Jefferson. He was he's a very smart guy, but the public was unhappy, and Cindy got elected and I think served well. But when Oliver ran against her, he beat her, took her to a runoff.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, I don't think her loss to Oliver was so much a vote against her. This was Oliver's redemption tour.
Right.
And people wanted to lift him up and say yes to Oliver and not so much no to Cynthia, but it was a yes to Oliver vote. And now when she ran again, Oliver running for mayor, she had the incumbency a little bit. People knew her like they knew Helena. But she got 46% of the vote in a district that's 86+%. But 2 main candidates, her and Jason Hughes, a popular state representative.
Right.
Now, I thought Jason did not run as energetic a campaign as he could have and should have. But he's got a steeper hill to climb. But that race is winnable by either candidate. It really depends on turnout. I don't think we're going to see a 40% turnout on November 15th. We should. I hope we do. But
no, we're not.
But
we do. But one thing is important. In November, we're going to have a bond issue on the ballot.
Yeah.
Good point.
I think there's going to be some spirited discussion in the next 3 weeks about how accountable the city's infrastructure program has been, and should the voters basically go out and borrow more money and give it to the city to fix streets and sidewalks and pay for improved infrastructure if they can't spend the money they already have responsibly.
Very good point, Jacques.
So that in addition to the discussion around the budget and those very substantial difficulties may drive additional turnout.
That's true.
So
we're not going to see a decision on the budget till December 1st.
No, but we'll see a lot of fussing and fighting over it.
yeah.
And the proponents of this bond issue are going to have to make some sort of case to voters.
Right.
And they're going to have to work especially hard because the trust has been broken with the voters with respect to infrastructure and a lot of city spending. We went from twice a week garbage collection to once a week garbage collection, paying the same amount. And the sewage and water board billing was a mess for years. So those two things really broke the trust of the voters. And the city has to reestablish that trust in order to get this bond issue passed. I think
And when will those bonds be sold? Before January 12th or after?
Likely after January 12th.
January 12th is the inauguration day.
But the passage of the bond issue is by no means a fait accompli. Not at all.
Right.
Good point.
So we got a few minutes, so definitely. Let's talk sheriff and clerk.
Well, the sheriff was much like, if you look at, for a while, as the votes were coming in, I'm talking about when there was like 70, 80% of the
Right.
votes in, Michelle Woodfork was almost the exact same number of votes as Helena Moreno.
Right.
I think in the end, Helena got a few more votes, but the turnout was just as big. You know, that was it was almost like a co-mayor's race.
Yep.
And you had the same dynamic. You had a woman candidate who was known across the city.
Well known.
Biracial coalition, you know, and she did really well. She ran a hell of a race.
And I think the DA help supporting her had a lot to do with that. Jason Williams.
And it helped Helena. I think he was the first. He and Jimmy Harris were the two early endorsements for Helena, and those were both important endorsements early on. And then in the clerk's race, that was. I wasn't that surprised, but I think maybe Mr. Lombard was surprised. Now, here's an interesting little statistic. Calvin Duncan got 53% of the early vote, and the early vote was almost 40,000 people. That was like 35 to 36, 37% of the total vote.
Yeah.
And it came from everywhere in the city, right? Because everybody could early vote. So that was like a poll. Whereas Helena got about the same in the early vote as she did on election day. Right. And so it showed that the attacks that Lombard lobbed at Duncan in the closing 10 days or 2 weeks had an impact.
Well,
but Duncan finished first by 670 some odd votes.
That's right.
That's not good for an incumbent.
Inside baseball, but I think we do have to admit and credit two very well-run campaigns: the Moreno campaign and the Woodfork campaign.
Yes,
they were highly organized. They were well-funded. They did good at fundraising. They were aggressive on direct voter contact, on the blocking and tackling of actually running a winning campaign.
And he had good media. Helena ran what I call a complete campaign. I compared her election night to the Philadelphia Eagles last year. Yeah. Good on both sides of the ball and on special teams. Helena's media was, her traditional media, TV ads were outstanding. Her social media was everywhere. She had influencers up and down all over. I mean, they were on it like in 10 minutes or less, out there pushing her messages. And I don't do a lot of social media, but people I know that do follow it said, man, it was amazing. So she had the money to do it.
Right.
But Woodfork had also, I think, a complete campaign.
Yeah.
So, credit the campaign managers in that case. In Moreno's case, Renee Laparolari, and in Woodfork's case, Telly Medina.
Yeah. So now we move into a period where we're going to have an incumbent mayor. Last few weeks of her administration, and just yesterday she put forth a RFP for the 6-month trash contract. So she's still the mayor. So looks like after the campaign season, we're going to have some more trash campaigning.
More trash talk.
Yes, that's right. But the big thing will be the budget. How different will that be with the mayor-elect being on city council as we...
Let me just throw one thing out about campaigns.
1 minute.
I credit Jared Arcelon, too, for running a really good media campaign for Woodfork. And he also did Calvin Duncan's campaign. And I'm told he may be signing on to Jason Hughes' campaign, which should put some energy in that race out in District E. Now, as to the trash thing, I think the councils... We have a strong mayor form of government, but we have a stronger council than we've had because of some charter changes and personalities on the council. So it's going to be a fight.
Yeah, a Mayor-elect Moreno's honeymoon is going to be abbreviated by the fight over a budget. And
trash.
And trash, but more so over the budget because it's going to affect a whole lot of people. The city's got to is going to have to consider reductions in force, layoffs, furloughs, sharp reduction in services. And these things are going to impact everyone, not just the people who live in the French Quarter.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for coming in, spending some time with us this morning. Your insights were very helpful and on point. We know that our listening audience has benefited from this conversation, but look for more because each day there's more information, a little bit deeper dive, a little bit more data that we can look at for those who are interested in how this happened. The overwhelming support across the city. And one of the things that happened is clearly the voters said, we like the way the city council is working.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's been a lot of city council criticism, but
4 incumbents reelected and a 5th one who was an incumbent. So, depending on who wins in District E.
That's right. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time. And Eddie, we're going to go to break. But after that, we're going to hear from Victor Sims, and he's going to be talking about gaslighting. Boy, did we have a little bit of that?
Yeah.
All right. You're listening to WBOK, 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about all day long.
WBOK New Orleans, home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
BIN News Now. That was Black New York Attorney General Letitia James at a rally for New York City Democratic mayoral nominee Zohran Mamdani via CNN. It's her first appearance since her indictment on bank fraud charges by the Department of Justice under President Donald Trump. Over to Mississippi, where the FBI says 4 people have been arrested in connection with the fatal shooting in Leland, Mississippi over the weekend. Black State Senator Derek Simmons says it happened at a homecoming game. Finally, happy birthday to Usher. He's 47 today, born in 1978. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
New Schools for New Orleans is excited to announce that our Katrina 20 exhibit, After the Storm, 20 Years of Change and Progress in New Orleans Public Education, is now open to the public. You can experience this powerful look at how our schools have transformed since Katrina at the New Orleans Public School Library's main branch, 219 Loyola Avenue, during regular business hours, now through December. Bring your friends, family members, students, and colleagues. Looking for a group visit for your school or organization? Email us at info@nsno.org.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK. Good morning, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show right here on WBOK 1230 AM. Folks, it's 8:04 a.m. If you were supposed to be there at 8, you late. So you better get going unless your work is just in the other room down the hall. But if you got to be there at 8:15, you got a little bit of time. 8:30, you're in much better shape. Most of the babies should be in school about now, but we'll probably have some late drop-offs, and a little later, school starts for high school students. So please, what do we want them to do when they head out?
Slow down and watch out for the kids.
Watch out for the kids. Slow down. Watch those cool zones.
Please.
Because they will get you. 20 miles per hour might seem way too slow, but I tell you what, 3 miles over and that camera might click.
Oh, it will click.
So I've gotten one of those. I hate school zone tickets. Oh my God. Haven't done it in quite a while, but you got to watch out. So we're jumping into conversation with Victor Sims,
And boy, looking forward to this conversation. I'm Will Sutton, got Chief Eddie Compass with me, and we're talking to Victor Sims about gas lighting.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fascinating conversation, one you want to make sure that you are tuned into because Victor Sims is going to bring it as we talk about gas lighting. So what's your overview on gas lighting?
Well, the overview we're going to talk about, like I put it, the psychology of gaslighting, because I think a lot of people quite not understanding what they're dealing with. When you're dealing with a gaslighter, you're dealing with an individual who will make you sort of challenge your own concepts, your own thoughts, your own ideas about a particular thing. You may be very confident in a comment or a statement or a feeling that you have, but the gaslighter will come along and make you question your own self. You know, I have some examples on the general method of gaslighting. Telling lies. The gaslighter tells blatant lies to confuse the victim about what is true. Denying events. They deny that certain events happen, making the victim question their memory. Manipulating information. The gaslighter twists information to make the victim feel insecure about their perceptions. Remember, you're the victim if you're the person the gaslighter is talking to. Using confusion. They create confusion by changing the subject or making contradictory statements. Projecting. The gaslighter accuses the victim of their own behaviors, making them feel guilty. Minimizing feelings. They dismiss the victim's feelings as unimportant or irrational. Withholding information. The gaslighter pretends not to understand or refuses to share information, leaving the victim feeling isolated. Trivializing. They make the victim's concerns seem trivial or exaggerated. Using affection as a weapon. The gaslighter may withdraw affection to manipulate a victim's emotion. That's more of a personal, a relationship situation. Creating a false narrative. They construct a false narrative about the victim's behavior to undermine their self-esteem. And that's just some of the things that, in generalized, gaslighters do. And you can expand it to larger areas, individual situations, organizational situations, national situations, international situations. You know, understanding the reality of an issue and sticking to it and having facts to back it up will help you deal with the gaslighter. But you have to be very cautious because they're not ignorant. They're very intelligent people, and they know how to take words and phrases and bend them to make the individual who they're talking to question themselves.
All right. So we know we have a world that includes gaslighting.
Yes.
So obviously we have a world that includes gaslighters.
Yes.
How do we know if we're the gaslighter?
Aha. Well, what is your motive? What is your rationale? What is your reason for being involved in the conversation in the first place? If it is to obtain your way, what you're attempting to get, despite the facts and the reality, then you can be a gaslighter.
Whoa. Hold on now. Okay. So let's say at home, my wife and I having a friendly debate.
Yes.
Okay. We have two stark different ideas about how we should move forward on something.
Right.
We both feel very strongly about it.
Okay.
We're in a loving relationship, and we know that neither of us are leaving, so we just kind of trying to work this out.
Okay.
But we're getting a little loud.
Okay.
Because our emotions are
stirred
we're feeling that.
Yep.
And so maybe we even use some language that we don't normally use because our emotions kind of get us to that point.
Gotcha.
Is that an opportunity for gaslighting in that
Actually,
relationship?
no.
Or is that different because we have a different relationship than we might have with somebody else who we don't know as well, like at work, or who we don't know at all?
That's not gaslighting at all. That's two individuals who really believe in what they're saying and attempting to convince the other person that their point of view, their thoughts, their ideas is better for whatever the subject matter is than what mine are. And husband and wife would get into that. The gaslighter would take their victims' comments and bend them around, to make it look as if the victim doesn't know quite what they're talking about or have no facts to back up and support why they are engaged in that particular conversation. The example you gave is more of two individuals who are not attempting to manipulate. Remember, the gaslighter is trying to manipulate you, trying to bend you to their will. They're not concerned about your thoughts and ideas at all. They're just worried about trying to get you to go along with them. So to bend your words, to bend your thoughts, to bend your ideas to fit their narrative or to totally dismiss your own.
Right. I hear you. Of course, in some different types of relationships, maybe there is a gaslighter.
Oh, you're in relationship? Yes. Gaslighting takes place in relationships.
Right.
Well, a lot of time they'll be disputatious and they'll give you a specious argument. And in actuality, that argument is plausible, but it's basically spurious and deceptive. Would you agree at?
Oh, definitely. That is a great example of a gaslighting situation. Yeah. Because it'll sound real.
Right.
It'll sound like it has some legs to it.
Right.
But when you really pay attention and look for the facts to back it up, you recognize that the individual just took something and just tilted it in order to get their opinion. I mean, the gaslight is about only one thing, getting what they want. That's all it's about. Your concerns, your needs, your desires mean little to them. And they will bend it in order to make you feel as though you don't quite know what you're talking about or you're questioning your own self.
Okay.
But
go ahead.
Like I say, and when you look at it, they basically try to be adulterated when they're talking to you. They try to confuse you. They try to muddle the situation, and then they use jargon and parlance that you might not be familiar with, but then you're kind of like embarrassed. So basically you just agree with them to not seem that though you're not speaking in the jargon or parlance or understanding what they're saying,
Yeah.
And that's what I've looked at a lot of times. People in academia will do that. They'll try to, be very, very technical with you, and then get you manipulated. That's
exactly that. And they are intelligent people. These are not unintelligent individuals who do not know how to use the English language, terminology, phraseology, in order to overwhelm, their victim with information that the victim now is questioning their own thoughts and ideas, and even questioning their own wishes, wants, and desires. And we have it. I mean, which I was just talking about the previous conversation. Some of the best are politicians,
right?
And not to disparage them, because individuals are attempting to get elected, so they're going to do what they have to do to get elected. So if I can say in Uptown what Uptown needs and desires, knowing that it may cause downtown a problem, but guess what? Uptown going to get this. And when I get to downtown, I'm going to spend it a little bit in order to try to get those individuals to support me as well. So gaslighting can be taking place. But remember, they are very intelligent people. They know how to use the English language. They are educated. They know how to cause their victim to doubt themselves. And when they get that, they got them exactly where they want them.
All right. Well, with you giving that context, that background, seems to me there's another important element, which is the power dynamic. Because if there are people who are regular folks, and there's some gaslighting among them at work or wherever, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if somebody holds an elected position, if somebody is the COO or the CEO of the company, and they're communicating with somebody who does not have that same
power
level of authority and responsibility, that seems to put the other person at a disadvantage, even if they're right. Mm-hmm. And if that leader, if that person is making a point, that's one thing, but that seems like that can be easier to move into gaslighting.
Very, very much easier because of that power dynamic. in a situation such as what you mentioned, that power dynamic depends upon who the victim is. And we use the term victim, but the person who the gaslighter is speaking to. The individual may have an accurate statement to make, but it will show that the leader who has the power may not have the same level of knowledge or information. So therefore, that person may use their power area in order to take the person they're talking to and put them down. And based upon the concern about the consequences toward the individual who has the less power, they may back down and may even attempt to question themselves about, well, let me think about because I really want the pat on the back from the person with the power. So I may then give up my comments based upon that power dynamic.
Okay, we've got a caller. Good morning, Reverend Calhoun. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. You're on with Victor Sims.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning to everyone. So is the ultimate goal here complete control? That they victimize people. One of the things that I think really bothers me is the over talking. That when you're in a conversation and you're trying to explain a position, explain what you're trying to say, that it becomes dismissive in terms of they just over talk you or they'll walk away from the car. I don't want to talk no more. So the ultimate thing here look like it's about controlling your whole mindset, that you don't challenge them, that you don't just go along with anything and everything they say. How healthy is that in a relationship if one person constantly dismisses another person's thoughts or viewpoints on how they feel?
It is a very unhealthy relationship to have. And yes, it definitely is an issue where one person attempting to take advantage of another individual for their own personal purposes. And you remember, these individuals are, again, they're very intelligent and they're very manipulative. And they will use whatever methods necessary in order to get their needs met. But despite the reality of it, despite the consequences of the situation, as long as they get what they're looking for, they will utilize these skills. And I use skills because it really is a skill to be able to take someone's thoughts and ideas and bend them and have the person questioning their own sanity about a particular topic or particular situation.
So
as a young man, I used to, out in the street, doing my thing as a young man, and we would run into me, the fellas I would hang with. We would have relationships with different people, and it would happen a great deal there. I can remember one friend of mine telling me about he was confronted by a young lady who caught him having a cheating on her, and he was able to take the situation and turn it around to the point where she's now begging him for forgiveness for catching him.
Oh my goodness!
And at the time, I was not who I am today. We call it flipping the script.
Yeah.
And that is a gaslighting example.
Flip mode D.
All right.
Okay, but just let me try to find this out, because it sounds like I've been being gaslighted for the last 50 years.
All right, Reverend Calhoun.
But what is the ultimate goal here? Is it just have some emotional lack inside of them that brings them to that level to make them feel that they're more important? And what is the real issue that? And I guess my question is, if you feel that way, do you stand your ground? You walk away, you just you don't worry about it. What's your, and I'm gonna hang up and listen, but I just want to know, if you are being gaslighted, what do you do with that type of person?
Okay.
All right, I'll hang up and listen.
All right. Well, first of all, you may not recognize you're being gaslit because the individual in question is someone who's close to you, someone who you've been involved with, someone who you know, your husband, your wife, your friend, your coworker, someone who you've experienced with. And the idea for the gaslighter is to get their needs met, get their desires met, get what it is they want out of this interaction between you and that individual.
That's the ultimate goal. And there's some other areas here that we can get into at another time because there are certain personality disorders that utilize gaslighting a great deal. But that would be an entirely different show to talk about personality disorders. But their purpose is for them to get what they want. That makes them feel empowered, important, valuable, which all human beings really want. But the gaslighter cannot accept their thoughts and their ideas not being accurate, not being the one that governs the interaction between you and them. They have to feel on top. They have to feel more important. And they cannot deal with consequences. Negative consequences of their actions is something they will attempt to avoid at all costs. Like I mentioned about my friend, he was caught and he was able to flip the script and make this young lady think that she was the one at fault for the interaction that they were having. And the gaslighter's idea is to avoid negative consequences to any action that they may have involved in.
You think you recognized him as a gaslighter at that time or only later?
No. At the time, we didn't recognize it at all.
Okay.
I hate to say it, but we were impressed.
Right. Okay.
Because he was able to get out of this particular difficulty that he found himself in.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go to break, and we'll be back with more on gaslighting from Victor Sims. I am Will Sutton, and with me is Chief Eddie Compass. And we've got a surprise for you, but we're going to go ahead and let you know. You're going to want to stay tuned for more of this gaslighting conversation. But before we end the show, we're going to have City Council member for District E, Oliver Thomas, live and in person in this studio. City Council member, former mayoral candidate Oliver Thomas will be with us soon. But we're going to break, and we'll talk more about gaslighting before we get to that. You're listening to WBOK. What New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Hey, this is D. Riley from the 90s Hits R&B Jams. Make sure you listen to WBOK 1230 AM every Saturday night from 7 until 9 p.m. I'll be giving you the best R&B jams from the 90s. That's right, all your favorites and more. With me, D. Riley, your host of the 90s Hits, right here on WBOK 1230 AM, or listen online at WBOK1230.com. WBOK, the station you listen to longer.
Good Tuesday morning. I'm Daryl Forges with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. Happening today, the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office will go before a judge to address a recent data breach and how that breach is preventing the agency from complying with its consent decree. The summons directs OPSO to bring someone familiar with the efforts to address last month's cyber attack. Court records show OPSO is claiming the breach was prevented them from, quote, providing plaintiffs and monitors with timely information required under the consent judgment. Family, friends, and other members of the community came together in prayer for a teen gunned down in Algiers. 17-year-old Jiron Johnson was shot last Monday on Texas Drive. A vigil was held for Johnson at the Forest Park Apartments. He was a junior at L.B. Landry High School. If you have any information about the shooting, call Crime Stoppers. And just days after her mandate victory, Mayor-elect Helena Moreno is already setting the tone for her administration, officially launching her transition team. Her effort is called New Direction New Orleans, and she also launched a website asking residents to get involved. Her team will announce transition chairs this week. Moreno says her first 100 days will focus on fixing city services, cutting delays, and improving response time. We're expecting more announcements later this week, including who will lead key committees. I'm Daryl Forges, and that's your headlines for WBOK, and have a great day.
It's off the top.
Wake up your taste buds at Inner City Brews and Bistro, home of the one-of-a-kind peach cobbler pancakes. Start your day with our soulful breakfast favorites. Then come back for bold cocktails and those oh-so-good Creole flavors that always hit just right. In the heart of Treme, every bite feels like home. Doors open at 8:30 a.m. and find us at 1401 St. Bernard Avenue. Inner City Brews and Bistros, uniquely New Orleans, deliciously unforgettable.
Hi, this is Arnie Filko. Let's elevate every Tuesday through Thursday from 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. as we discuss the community, the country, and the world, from politics to current events to sports. We look forward to your input and continuing the quality programming on your community station, WBOK. Join Carrie and I every Tuesday through Thursday, 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. on Elevated Conversations, the Arnie and Carrie Show. See you soon.
You're invited to step back into New Orleans history for Community Day at the Dewdrop Inn with Tulane University's Special Collections, presented by the Primo Memorial Series. Saturday, October 18th from 12 to 2 p.m. Celebrate the Dewdrop Inn legacy with a live musical show. Enjoy a brunch buffet and explore archival materials. Free admission, but space is limited. For more information, visit library.tulane.edu/Dewdrop Community Day.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, New Orleans, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show right here on WBOK 1230 AM. It's a fabulous and beautiful Tuesday morning. My name is Will Sutton, and I'm here with Chief Eddie Compass. It's 8:27 a.m. If you got somewhere to be at 8:30, we hope it's on the other side of your bed so you can plant your feet and grab that laptop, grab that phone, do your check-ins, check the email, and say, boss, I'm on it. Otherwise, you late. So, but if you got somewhere to be for 9 o'clock, you got a little bit more casual prep time, and we hope you'll stay tuned to WBOK on AM radio at 12:30, on the internet, or on Facebook Live. We're here with Victor Sims. We're going to continue talking about gaslighting. Fascinating conversation. And right now we've got a caller. We're going to take call from Aaron. Good morning, Aaron. You're online with Victor Sims.
Good morning. Good morning. How y'all doing this morning?
Okay. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning. Good morning. You know, first shouts out to the Fatherhood Roundtable as well as the Hill P. Newton Gun Club. Let me give another form of gaslighting, if y'all don't mind.
All right.
Okay. You know, for those exploiters and opportunists who come into our communities and study the things that we are not doing and then find ways to capitalize off of it. You know, giving certain information as if you are not informed when you know the whole time what the grand scheme of things are. Am I right, Victor Sims? Is that a form of gaslighting, my brother?
Yes, it is. Definitely.
All right. Now, going in that direction now, right, we have to understand that Helena Moreno, right, been running for this seat long before election time, election season. You feel what I'm saying? So it's things that we need to be doing, taking care better of to make sure that the opportunists and the exploiters don't come into our communities and take over. You know what I'm saying? But also they send certain people that look like us into our communities to do even more damage to us because we, the ones that know better, are constantly leaving the gate open and waiting for other people to come into our communities and do for us what we have the power and the ability to do for ourselves, because we have to be honest too. It was a strategic plan and purpose for her to be in power, for them to do what they're getting ready to do. Because let's be honest, really and truly, no matter who sits in that seat, it's only so far that they can actually go. And Chief Compass, you know exactly what I'm speaking of. You dig? So at the end of the day, we understand the reason why Franklin Street, right, still looks the same as Franklin Street when y'all was small. You know what I'm saying? And we understand on the other side of Napoleon Avenue why everything is over there perfect, looking good, and brand new streets and everything. And then when you get on a Claiborne side, right, right close to Martin Luther King while the streets look how they look. So again, no matter who sits in them seats of power, is a certain structure and strategic plan to make sure things go how things are supposed to go on that side. It's things that we need to do as the community for ourselves and stop constantly waiting for other people, no matter who they may be our savior. You dig?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to hang up and listen. I appreciate
All
y'all.
right, my brother. Thank you, Aaron. Have a blessed day.
You're right.
Yeah, looking at it from a larger perspective, more than individuals interacting with each other. Individuals, again, remember, gaslighting is an attempt to gain power and control over the victim, whoever the victim may be, whether that's a group of individuals or one individual. To tell an individual things that sound like they have some logic to them, sound like they have some rationale to them, in order to sway you into their perspective or to get you to doubt your own thoughts and ideas is what the gaslighter is attempting to do, whether that's with an individual or whether they're with a large group. They're still doing the exact same thing, attempting to gain control so that they are the ones that make the final decisions about whatever the topic is, whatever the subject matter is. So it can be political, it can be business-wise. And remember, we had a conversation before about the difference between the purpose of business and the purpose of government. Purpose of government take care of the people, purpose of business to make a profit. So in that case, if you have such an individual attempting to make a profit through a governmental method, to use a method of persuading individuals to go along with them so they can get that contract or whatever necessary to be, will look good, and it will be, for the gaslighter, it would not be a struggle at all. It would be something that they will almost look forward to see how much they can bend the system in order to get what they want done.
Wow. Well, that's a lot. So can you put this in the context of some, say, statewide events,
sure,
or national events? So we have a governor that was elected with not a lot of people who came out to vote, but the people who came out to vote said overwhelmingly, we want Jeff Landry as our governor.
Yeah.
And my opinion, Jeff Landry, when he was campaigning, basically won on fighting crime, and in particular, fighting crime in New Orleans and beating up on New Orleans as a way to win votes, not just in New Orleans, some votes, but statewide. Would you say some of that was gaslighting or just good campaign?
Oh, no, I would definitely say some of that was gaslighting. See, utilizing a issue and blowing it up larger than what it realistically is a method of the gaslighter, you know, to make you feel as though their particular thought and idea about this topic and making the topic, again, bigger by constantly bombarding you with information about this particular subject. And if you listen closely, you're hearing the exact same thing, just saying over and over and over again. Psychologically, we as human beings, when we hear the same thing over and over again, also, if we're not ready to do our own homework on this topic, we can be easily gaslit in order to think that that particular information is actually accurate. Some other things that especially on that larger arena of gaslighter, is if it's broadcast. You know, what we're doing now, we're broadcasting to a lot of different people, which comes on television. Individuals sometimes feel as though if it's on TV, it must be real. One of the worst, in my opinion, is social media, because that information is not fact-checked. It's not looked at for the reality. It is a perfect medium for a gaslighter to light up a lot of different people with false information. So, yeah, and in that particular one, I remember one particular statement made by a state representative when the governor decided to remove all obstacles to obtaining guns. Mm-hmm. And the state legislature, he made this statement. I mean, it was funny, but it's really not funny. His comment was that we need to remove all of these restrictions to buying guns so law-abiding citizens can buy guns. He actually said that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What? Did he hear what he said?
Right.
When have law-abiding citizens not been able to purchase a gun?
Mm-hmm.
But his issue was to support the governor's idea about getting rid of background checks, getting rid of any restrictions, that was something beneficial to the public.
So was that gaslighting, though, foolish, or how would you characterize that?
Well, it was definitely heavily gaslighting, because the reality is those individuals who should not have guns now have access.
When you look at a lot of times, individuals will use rhetorical questions to gaslight you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like you're caught in the proverbial bureaucratic quagmire, because you can't disagree with it because what they're saying makes sense, but it's specious in a way because there's no way for you to prove it at that moment, at that time. And then it becomes truth, you know? So it's a situation where you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
And the key you mentioned, Chief, at that moment.
At that moment.
At that moment. That's where fact-checking comes in.
Right.
But at that moment, you don't have the opportunity to fact-check. So individuals themselves have to be knowledgeable about the subject matter prior to having that conversation. Now, if it's one that's spontaneous conversation, you know, we're talking about like the individual situation where that's sort of difficult to do. But we're talking about something such as what we're talking about now, the political arena, then I highly recommend all citizens get into the research, get into the facts, dig up information before you have a conversation with this individual looking for your vote, so you can challenge and recognize when you're being gaslit. Because somewhere within that conversation, if the politician is one that has that personality issue I mentioned earlier, I can guarantee you some gaslighting is going to take place. And it's up to you, the individual, to be able to recognize what the facts and the reality are, to challenge the gaslighter on their comments.
And time is very important in retrospect to the answer that people give. You know, and I use this as an example all the time. During Hurricane Katrina, someone would ask me a question from the media at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Another media outlet asked me the same question at 9 o'clock. Another individual from another media asked me the same question at 10 o'clock. Well, the situation has changed all three times. But when they show the 12 o'clock news, they don't take into consideration that they asked me the same question at three different times from three different outlets, and it shows that Chief Compass is giving bad information because he's not answering these questions correctly. He's being disingenuous, when in actuality, I was being too honest. I was giving information as it came to me, and it came to me, but that never was differentiated when they showed the news. And, you know, I'm a big boy, I could take the licks, but I mean, I got blamed for things that was because I was trying to do the right thing.
Right.
And then if I'm quiet, then my silence is basically interpreted as, oh, he's trying to cover something up. Why he's not answering the question? Mm-hmm. So, you know, so I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know, because individuals such as who are asking them questions, they had their own agenda.
Right.
They had their own objective. And their objective was not just to provide information. And this is something I've been looking at and playing with a little while. Sometimes our news people reporting news are wanting to make news.
Right.
And if they're trying to make news, then gaslighting is going to take place.
And then people are just so, once they get it in their mind, like when they said they weren't shooting at the police, and Kevin Thomas had a bullet in his head where they shot him. And they said, well, Chief, you keep saying they're shooting at the police. Nobody's shooting at y'all. I said, we just brought an officer to the hospital. He has a bullet in his head. But they didn't want to hear it because they heard from so many different sources that we were exaggerating what was happening.
So where's the gaslighting in that?
Well, the individual in question wanted to promote their own point of view. And that's the gaslighting. They want to promote their own point of view. Mm-hmm. And if they can eliminate or manipulate information in order to do that, that's the gaslighting. And in this case, it may not be an intentional thing. It may be just sort of based upon the situation at the time that this individual, and they have an agenda. And if my job is to promote information and news, I'm going to get as much as I can in order to draw attention to my station, my rationale, whatever it may be. And what I need to do, what I need to say in order to do that can be the potential for gaslighting. I want to draw attention to my station because, we have advertisement, we have other motives and objectives. So if I need to bend the rules or facts slightly in order to get that, that's what I'm going to do. And that's called gaslighting.
Okay. So let's take it to the national scene.
Yes.
We've got a president in office who a lot of people voted for.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't vote for.
Yeah.
And he has an entirely different style of as a U.S. president than what we've been used to. We got I think we got a glimpse of it in his first term.
Yeah.
But this is a whole different
it's a
thing.
whole different animal. Well,
and
okay,
so
go ahead.
where is, I mean, how much of this that we're hearing and seeing almost daily is a president expressing his views and making arguments in support of his policies or even things that he's thinking about versus gaslighting?
Yeah. I look at that situation as the ultimate gaslighter. Okay. And I really mean that. In his first time around, there were individuals around who had morals, had ethics, had certain set of appropriate values based upon the Constitution. He made sure that's not who's going to be around him this time around.
Mm-hmm.
So that when he says something, I remember when during COVID, and I forgot the female doctor who was working with Dr. Fauci, and when he brought up the idea about bleach and getting rid of COVID and injecting bleach, I saw her almost just close in, knowing he was going to come to her to ask her to validate. And if you ever notice, he always turns to other people to get validation for what he just said.
Mm-hmm.
And based upon the power level that you mentioned earlier, individuals don't want to challenge that based upon how he reacts if you don't go along with his comments. The ultimate in gaslighting is taking place. A number of different other national issues that they utilize in the gaslighting issue. And I'm going to talk about DEI.
Oh, boy.
You know, when you look at the reality of DEI, isn't that supposed to be America?
Mm-hmm.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion? Mm-hmm. Isn't that supposed to be? But they were able to bend it to unprofessional, unqualified.
Right.
DEI now means unqualified.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was a beautiful piece of gaslighting if you into looking at gaslighting situations. Mm-hmm. To take that. It can be on a national level. Also, the idea about crime in the streets. Crime is so terrible, we've got to put the National Guard in the streets in order to do that. Well, the chief knows National Guard is not qualified to do policing, you know. And the crime rate, and this was amazing to me, especially in D.C., crime rate dropped 20-something%. But yeah, we need a National Guard because the crime is so horrible, so terrible. And we got people now can go to restaurants where they couldn't go before. What? Who told you people can go to restaurants? Couldn't go out and walk the streets of D.C. You know, that was in other cities that he wants to promote it in. I'm glad to see that Illinois had a judge that denied this request, and Oregon also had a judge came in and say, this is manipulation, pretty much. You're utilizing something. And what, Portland is burning down? And we need all this. These are beautiful examples of a national gaslighting attempt to bend the facts, to bend the reality, to ignore reality altogether in order to get the gaslighters' needs met. It would, I mean, if you enter human interaction and human behavior, which I am, this was a beautiful piece of gaslighting. And he has people actually supporting these things. When you live, some of the Republican proponents discuss it, well, the president's trying to stop crime. And as Chief said, are you against stopping crime? So what are you going to say? Well, no, I'm not against stopping crime. Then what's wrong with the president? Well, there's a lot wrong with it. You know, so the ultimate in gaslighting as far as a national situation, yeah, we've been gaslit real well.
Wow. Okay, so let's take it to the international level.
Okay.
So when we look at things like the war in Ukraine with Russia, or we look at what's been going on in Gaza, in the Middle East, with Israel and Palestine. These are two sides in each of these situations, for the most part, with very strong feelings about where boundaries should be, where lines should be, where authority should be, who should be in charge of what. They're making points with guns and bullets and bombs and planes and all, but also with their language, with, I'd say, even rhetoric on both sides. But where is the gaslighting in what happens with those cases?
Well, all human beings are valuable and important. Doesn't matter what your ethnicity is, doesn't matter what your nationality is. If you're a human being, you're valuable and important. The gaslighting takes place when we attempt to vilify one group because they have a different perspective of how they want to live their lives. When you look at that situation, and hopefully trying to maintain it within the aspect of gaslighting, not to get into who's right and who's wrong about what's taking place. But individuals in that region, they have a different way of wanting to live their lives. Palestinians do a more of a Middle Eastern type of living, and where the Israelis, they have more of a Western style of living, and I'm hoping I'm categorizing these correctly. And the fear of differences bring about this conflict that's taking place there. And when you look at it, the Israelis, and not to vilify them, but to really look at it from a humanistic standpoint, lost 1,200 people on October 7th 2 years ago, which was horrible, absolutely horrible. I mean, since the Holocaust, one of the worst days in the life of a Jewish individual. In retaliation, in order to defend ourselves, in order to never let it happen again, we're going to destroy almost every city you have, kill over 5,000 of your people, kill children, women, blow up hospitals, and the gaslighting takes place because we're making sure October 7th never happens again. Take a look at it. That is a gaslighting situation of huge proportion.
All right. Well, thank you very much for this gaslighting lesson and overview, looking at individual relationships, work relationships, looking at the city, the state, national and international. We've got a range of views and looks at gaslighting today. We're going to break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from City Council member Oliver Thomas. OT will be on with you to share some of his thoughts post-election. Right here on WBOK, 1230 a.m., what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
A message from the community scientist. Do you live or work in St. James, St. John, St. Charles, Ascension, Calcasieu, Baton Rouge, or St. Bernard Parish? You may be exposed to harmful chemicals like phthalates, BPA, and flame retardants found in everyday products but linked to serious health risks. That's why the Community Scientist, a program of Rise St. James, brings you clear, science-based facts that protect your health and our environment. Stay informed, stay empowered. Visit risestjames.org today.
Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Every Friday at noon on WBOK.
Hi, I'm Jessica with Entergy New Orleans, and I'm a customer too. I'm proud to say our rates are 21% below the national average. Every day, our team is focused on keeping costs lower for you. We take affordability personally because this is our home too. We work harder and smarter to fight rising costs, while also improving reliability for years to come. This isn't just my job, it's a commitment to my community. Together, we power life. Entergy.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060. Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Good morning, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show right here on WBOK 1230 a.m. I am Will Sutton, and with me is Chief Eddie Campos, and we are going to the phone right now. Good morning. Is this Oliver Thomas?
Man, good morning, Chief. Good morning, Will. Man, I'm still a big fan of the morning show and WBOK. It's where I get a lot of my information from.
Well,
Thank you guys for what you do.
Good. Well, you've had a busy several months, and I can't tell you how many times people ask, where are you? I say he's doing his other job. But people definitely miss you here. And but you know, I could talk more about that, but I know the people want to hear from our OT. So
first of all, to the WBOK listening audience, that helped educate me, you know, and if people said I sounded like I knew what I was talking about and had a lot of knowledge about the issues, I was educated by a lot of the listening audience. So thank you for that. And for those folk who voted for me, man, thank y'all for casting your vote, and congratulations to the winners. It was an interesting election. It's an historical election, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next few years.
Well, indeed. So there's been some pushback on your comments from Saturday night's concession speech, which was very passionate. And for those who didn't hear it, I suggest they go back and look for it. It's on YouTube. Can you talk about that moment when you ended the campaign and talked about how you felt about where we were at that moment Saturday night, not this Tuesday morning, at that moment Saturday night?
Yeah, but I also got a lot of support too. I was at an event, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, and when I talked about systems that were in play, man, I got a lot of support, and it was an honest conversation about where we are and how systems are working and how they're coalescing together. Now, for those folk who use it to their political benefit, then hey, I don't know why they're sore winners. You won. So why are you mad about Oliver Thomas basically calling out the obvious? And I didn't cast aspersions or make innuendo. I have receipts for some of the things that were calculated, coordinated, and intentional, from news stations to political operatives. And there was a little guy on another radio show who went out of their way, to try to cast aspersions against, disparage me over comments, and I think it actually proved my point, to be honest with you.
Okay. And how did it prove your point?
Well, when hit puppies holler, right? And for anyone who heard Mr. Norman's comments, and especially in his analogy of the election and my comments and his efforts to disparage me, it actually proved my point. And I wasn't talking about the vast members of the society, whatever their race, creed, color, agenda. I was talking really about people like him. And look at his comments when he said, I don't want to talk about LaToya Cantrell. But then he went on to continue to disparage and talk about LaToya Cantrell. Well, if you didn't want to talk about it, that chapter's turned. you can honor your Helena Moreno. You can honor your hero and be glad that Oliver Thomas is gone and that Mayor Cantrell isn't in office anymore. So that proved my point. And then I don't know whatever his proclivities agenda was, but he owned in on the fact that just continue to dig in. So if I'm talking about how systems work against people and how we need to hold them accountable, I think that's what his show should probably do. I think that's what this Good Morning show should do. But he continued to dig into me, given the fact that if he was this honest broker and this great law enforcement person, he would still be sheriff. I read the judge's comments about him and his behavior and his ethics, but he still thought it was okay to continue to disparage me and continue to beat up on LaToya Cantrell when it's obvious that you won. What are you a sole winner? I'm gone. LaToya Cantrell's going to be gone. But that's the power of folk that I was talking about when I talked about how the system works together and plots and plans. Again, look, I used to not be a conspiracy theorist because I thought OJ did it. But what I do know is that people like to control systems and they plan and they engineer and socially re-engineer. So for anyone who was mad about my comments, man, I love all people in this community. You were looking for a reason, and then for folk for little guys like him, who hide behind that mic and who want to divide us, it was important to disparage me and continue to beat up on the outgoing administration to continue the narrative of the 4 Ds: dismiss, discredit, demonize, and destroy, period.
So do you think you would have delivered the same talk on Saturday night if you had won or if you were in the runoff?
Oh, man, no, I had a whole nother man, come on, man. I had a whole nother speech that was prepared. If nothing else, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say what's on my mind. No. But now, would I have talked about accountability? Would I have talked about holding systems accountable? Absolutely. And for the little guy on the other radio station to try to discredit what I said, if you look at surveys now, people are distrustful of systems. They're distrustful of government. So that's basically what I was saying. And Trump won. How did Trump win? Beating up on the media, right? Mm-hmm. And talking about the plotting and planning of the media. So when I do it, I'm doing something wrong to people within the system. But when one of their guys does it, it's okay.
And, there's been quite a focus on the part where you reference devil, the 99%, 100%. Do you
Great point. Look, great point. Why wasn't it an issue when Bill Hammond used white devils in the email to try to use reverse racism to coalesce whites and donors to support my opponent? Why wasn't that an issue?
Okay, Chief.
Crickets, right?
I got
you. So why wasn't that an issue?
Well, when you look at it from that perspective, it's basically disingenuous if you say it's wrong and somebody else said it's right. So you have to be consistent. So I understand what you're coming from.
And look, man, the devil in the details, man. Look, if folk don't believe that there are people who are working against poor people, right? Working against working class people, then the results wouldn't fit the comment, because that's the challenge today. Now, look, had I sat down and prepared for a whole nother piece, maybe I would have used some different words, because the majority of people are good people trying to find their way. And what was obvious about this election is that the Moreno team was masterful in putting together a 6 or 4 year campaign that actually worked. They should get credit for that. I'm a former athlete. I don't believe in sore winners. And the other thing that was obvious was that none of us who were running in this class against her had what it took to break into the black-white vote or to stop 30+% of the African Americans from dissenting. So you can talk about who you're carrying, but the math worked. All of us together didn't beat the number that she got. So it's not about where you finish, because I didn't run to finish second, third, or fourth. I was running to win. So anyone who says they were running just to finish second or third or then that's not why you compete. I've never competed. I compete to win. So what it was obvious that the candidates, myself, the senator, and other candidates, none of us had what it took to break into that block white vote that was solidly behind her, or to stop a large part of the African American community from coalescing around her campaign. That's a mathematical fact.
Right. Well, you know how this goes, so we're going to have to break and make way for the front porch. One last question that is on everybody's mind. You've got to finish your city council term. A lot of big issues coming up, particularly the budget. And what is next for Oliver Thomas, and when are you coming back to the Good Morning Show?
Look, I'll sit down and I'll talk about that. We got two good hosts of the Good Morning Show now. All I can tell you is that I got up Sunday morning, went to church, went back to work, hung out with my son most of the evening. We went shopping for him for good grades. I went to work yesterday, and, it's like Kevin Two Cents always says, we got work to do. So anybody moping around because they lost an election or their candidate didn't win, hey, man, that's the way it is. So, and I was serious about how we're going to fix New Orleans. I want this mayor to be successful. I want the council to be successful, because I live here. My children, my grandchildren live here. We live here. But it's going to take all of us. And accountability is real. And for folk who didn't like what I said Saturday night, these systems need to be put in check. And there's a lot of receipts for how they coalesce around this result. That's a fact.
Okay, aside from the morning show, what's next?
Man, the budget, and how do we close the budget gap so it doesn't affect our citizens, and so the next administration doesn't have too much pain in delivering charter-related services. I'm going to continue mentoring and working with the young folk that I work with. But the next revolution or evolution of politics and movement in this city has to be economics, man. The African-American community, which is our largest demographic, we can't continue to be as poor as we are and get off of this crime cycle, this roller coaster, right? And it's not just about politics. Black folk, men and women from our community, we have to figure out a way to close this economic gap that exists right now. And if we can't do that, then we're going to continue to plummet and continue to struggle with the quality of life in this city.
I think I hear some creative approaches coming up in your answer. So have a blessed day.
Look, we're working on them already. The platform wasn't just a platform for politics. The platform was a platform for life, and people helped me shape it. Man, look, I'm not going anywhere. But what I'm going to do is I'm more inspired and more encouraged to help my community. And if I did something wrong and people didn't get it, how do I be a better version of me so that I can help my community? I mean, that's Oliver Thomas.
All right. Well, you've always been OT, and people expect you to be OT, and there are a lot of people pulling for you. Just because this didn't go a different way doesn't mean they don't need OT in the city of New Orleans. So thank you very much for joining us on the Good Morning Show. With apologies to Kemba and Graylin going into their time. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.